Good morning, Illini! Welcome back. I'm your host, Ryan Leshock, a student staff member here at Healthy Illini. Been with it since its inception. And today we have a very interesting episode. We are flipping the script on this one. As you can already tell, this episode is a little different. Today we have a very special guest, none other than our very own Matt Schrock. Matt, thanks for being here today.
It feels a little bit different and a little bit odd, but I'm thrilled to be here.
Lovely. All right, we are going to get right into it. I don't think we need any further introduction. I'm just going to ask you a few questions so the audience can better get to know the voice behind Healthy Illini.
Sounds good. Go for it.
All right, first question. How long have you been with the university? You know, kind of walk me through your journey here, where you started, and how you got to where you're at now.
If you've listened before, you know that I work in administration here at McKinley, and I started in the administration in October 2015. So coming up on 7 years, which is very strange to think about. But I've been with McKinley the whole time that I've been with the university. I absolutely love it. But my history with the university is a little bit longer. I was a student here in 1996 after I graduated high school. I was a student here, came from a very small town where I live now, my hometown, Arthur, which is about 45 minutes south of here, about 2,000 people. And my graduating class had 33. And so I went from 33 people in my senior class to Bio 101 with 900 and plus. And so that's when I started. And kind of give background on some of my journey of who I am. I came in high school was easy. I didn't have to study much. Academics just came naturally to me. And then I got to college and it was a little bit tougher. And between that and the culture shock of the size, I struggled a little bit. Hadn't really developed the tools that I needed to succeed. And really didn't know how to cope with it. It was tough. And so real abridged version, dealt with some mental health issues, dealt with some emotional issues, and ended up dropping out because I just wasn't making the grades because I was struggling. And then life happened, got married, had kids, the whole thing. And then fast forward to 2015, I now have 3 kids. My youngest one is on the autism spectrum. And because of that, I needed a job with a little bit better insurance. And I started looking at options, and university came up, and I was blessed to have been hired, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah, so it sounds like you kind of had a very tumultuous experience here the first time as a student, but now that you're working here, how have you been enjoying the campus so far?
I love it. I love being part of the campus. I've always loved this campus. I have lived various places. I'm back in my hometown now, but I've lived various places, and I love going to college campuses because of the energy, the excitement, the journey that everyone's on, and just kind of be seeing that. I just love the layout. I just think it's a beautiful campus, and then getting to be a part of that journey was huge, a huge opportunity. I was excited, but to be honest, when I came in, because of that bit of a tumultuous journey, because of that rocky path, it wasn't easy. There was a lot of shame in having dropped out. There was a lot of fear of people finding out that I had dropped out, and dealing with imposter syndrome in my own life, because we're a campus of brilliant people. We're a campus of very educated and very successful people, and to come in and know that the last time I was on this campus I did not succeed was tough. And so initially coming in for the interviews was really hard, and then after getting hired, working especially here at McKinley with medical professionals who are brilliant, and it really made it tough some days. But it's been a healing process. It's been a good thing, and really that process has a whole lot to do with why I'm so excited. I'm so happy and dedicated to being a part of Healthy Illini.
Yeah, and kind of walk me through that introduction to Healthy Illini, this podcast. I mean, from the very first episode of this podcast, well, even the teaser trailer for it, I remember thinking how great this voice sounded that thundered out of my speakers. And I mean, your ability to write episodes and bouncing between questions with interviews. You've interviewed a very diverse range of guests, from students to professionals to the chancellor of the university. You seem to be the perfect person for the job. So was this your first podcast experience, and kind of where did this fit in?
This is the first podcast experience I've had. That was a little daunting because I don't have a background in that, but I've always been a people person. I've always been somebody who enjoys conversation, engaging. I really like learning about people and learning what makes them tick and what makes them unique. Part of that comes from that history of when I did struggle at the university. I felt invisible, and I felt unseen in a lot of ways. And a lot of it was my fault. I didn't reach out. I didn't do those things. But there was an element of where I felt like I was just disappearing and had some identity crisis type stuff going on. And since then, I've been really intent in, when I talk to people, trying to see who they are. Not just what they're saying, but what does that say about them, who they are, who they're trying to be, and reach into that. So I've always had that ability to engage in that way and to listen to a conversation and at the same time push a little bit deeper for some of the background or the history. So I've always had that. I've also always been a performer, a singer, a speaker, whether it's a small group, large group. I have no problem being up in front of people. I've performed on stages, great and small, all over the U.S. really, all over the world in some of my travels. And so I've been blessed with that ability. And so out of that, I've kind of parlayed that into being able to have conversation. And then from the technical side, I did high school sports broadcasting for 5 years on radio, and then created, with my broadcasting partner, created an online live streaming sports website, basically a company. And we did live video, and I did color commentary. And really, I mean, you want to talk about honing your thinking on the feet skills, do live sports, because you can't script anything. I mean, you have an idea going in, but everything happens on air and you're going straight through it. So really that's my background in that. And I absolutely loved it. Got out of it now because of some family opportunities and some timing things. But I absolutely love that rush of thinking on your feet and doing something in the moment.
Well, I think that your careful curiosity and just that innate, drive to want to get to know the other people really shines through in the way that you cover Healthy Illini, because it's not a simple task. There's some very deep conversations and real conversations that occur, on this space and on the podcast. So in creating this and making it available for students and listeners in general, what are some of the challenges of hosting Healthy Illini?
From a production standpoint, it's a fast-paced schedule. We do one episode a week, and that's a lot. I mean, you've seen it from the behind the scenes that the 15-minute episode is recorded usually in about 30 minutes or so, but there's all the prep work before, setting up the meetings, setting up the conversations, getting people's input, and then creating the script to kind of guide the conversation, then doing it. You record it, I send it off to the editor, and immediately turn around. All right, what's the next one? There's really not much of a downtime in that, which is not bad, but it's a pretty hectic schedule. I do want to give a shout out to Jen Carson. I appreciate her help. I mean, I'm the voice here, but she's the brains behind the thing, and really helps with setting up all the episodes and getting our schedule. And so without you editing, without the help of the students that are part of it, we'd never be able to pull this off. It's just a lot. So the production schedule is pretty hectic. And especially since it's not a main job. It's not my main job here. I have other responsibilities I have to take care of. Some days I'd rather do the podcast full time, but I have to make sure I take care of those other responsibilities as well. So it's a lot of juggling time management and things like that. As far as the challenges of the actual episode, creating the script, a lot of times if it's somebody that, if I don't know them personally, that can be a challenge, because you want to come in and you want to create that rapport, you want to get that connection. And if I don't know them, I'm reading them on the fly and trying to figure out what their personality is. Are they someone that needs a little prompting? Do they not need a little prompting? Where do they want to go with the conversation? What's their passion within the topic? And that's really what I'm trying to tap into. So that can be a little bit tough at times. It's been fairly easy. But at the same time, while trying to read them, I want to be very respectful of their topic, of whatever they're talking about, their passion. I want to honor that. I want to make sure that I'm giving them the platform that they can showcase their drive and things like that. And we talk about some tough subjects sometimes, and you want to be very respectful of that, how you approach it, especially in something that I don't have a background in. That can be really tricky. The other thing is just keeping the time frame. I like to talk, as you can tell. I could fill up a 3-hour podcast pretty easily. But just those things all happening at once can be a little tricky. But again, I kind of thrive on that organized chaos idea. And so I really enjoy that side of it.
Yeah, and I mean, with the format of the podcast, you're often interviewing multiple people at once, between professionals or students or whoever we have in the space. Just kind of walk me through how you go about, making sure things are balanced and you're asking the right questions. How do you get in the mindset for that?
The core of what we do is to be a place that is safe for students, a place that is connected to students, that we are engaging with students. That's what we're here for. We bring in a lot of professionals that are working on campus or are involved with campus, but at the core of it, I want to make sure that it engages students where they're at. Kind of going back to the challenge of this and the purpose of this is, like my background, I was a student that didn't do so well on this campus, and there are other students that are struggling, and I want to try and connect with them in a safe place where they may not feel comfortable, or maybe intimidating to talk to a medical professional or an academic professional or anything like that, and so they don't know where to start. I want to give them an opportunity to start here a little bit. And so, the podcast is non-committal. You can listen to it and nobody knows. You're not signing up for a meeting time or something like that. You can do it on your own schedule. And so I try and build it so that it's very inviting, so that it's very open and honest and authentic and real. Because if we can catch one of those students before they feel like they fall through the cracks or are invisible, that's huge for me. And that's why I do it. So with that in mind, when we bring students in, I'm talking to someone who is very established in their field or is doing something that they're very passionate about, but I want to make sure that it connects with whatever students here or whatever students listening, that it's something that is engaging and has a human voice to it, especially when we're talking about, let's say a medical something, I talked to the chancellor recently, which was a huge honor and just an incredible episode. But I wanted to give an opportunity for him to share his voice, because he's the chancellor, he's the guy, but he's just a guy too in a lot of ways, and you want to give that human side to it. So if a student's listening and go, you know what? That's somebody I could talk to, or that's somebody I can resonate with, or hey, they're going through the same experience I am. They've been there. I'm coming along. That gives an opportunity for them to share. So when I'm talking to the professional, I always want to try and gear it to give the student an opportunity to respond. If there's a student voice here with us, to give them a chance to respond and let them share from their experience, because that's what's going to catch the students that are listening. They're going to hear somebody like them, or maybe somebody or are aware of, and be like, yo, this is who that is. I can connect to that, or I can make it because they've made it, that sort of thing. So really, I don't know that it's kind of a roundabout way to answer your question, but it's very much of talking about technical things with a professional, but making sure that it resonates with whatever students here or whatever students listening, because that's really the core of why we're doing what we're doing.
Right. No, I really value and appreciate that, like having students on the podcast and being able to hear their side of things, and not just have it be like a one-way conversation, but to invite students into the room and give them that voice. We've been talking a lot about like the challenges and things that are difficult and struggling with to make a podcast and how hard it is. But so what are some of the things that you enjoy about podcasting and like about creating Healthy Illini?
It's just a lot of fun. For me personally, I like people. I like meeting people, and I've worked at McKinley for 7 years. I know the people in the building really well. Especially the ones that've been here the whole time, and I enjoy talking to them about what they're passionate about, because I see them a lot, but I don't necessarily have time to sit and say, hey, what's going on with you? What are you doing? And sharing some of that. I really love talking to people outside of the building, because I don't have an opportunity to do that a lot. I've learned a lot in the last year. There's some topics that I didn't have much knowledge of going into. I knew what it was. And you say to me, like, oh, yeah, sure, I know that. And when I sat down to write the script, I was like, I really don't know anything that we're talking about. So I've gotten to learn some things there. I absolutely love that side of it, because I'm a proponent of lifelong learning. No matter what you're doing, you can continually learn about the world around you, people around you, what's going on. You can never have enough knowledge. You can always learn something new every day. And so that, for me personally, that's big. Being part of Healthy Illini has been something I'm proud of and something that I'm passionate about, because, again, I love that there's an opportunity here to reach a student that we might not reach another way. With a podcast, you might reach somebody who's struggling, or someone who just wants to connect somehow, and they don't know where else to turn. And there's lots of opportunities on this campus. There's a huge amount of opportunities on this campus to connect, but everybody connects differently. And this isn't something new that might catch somebody that we hadn't caught before. And that excites me. The idea that, when I was struggling, I lived at Hendrick House, which is, a couple blocks from here. Never stepped foot in McKinley, never stepped foot in the counseling center, was dealing with stuff. I don't even remember if I knew they existed. I'm sure I'd heard about them, but it had been in the onslaught of information when you first become a student, it had gotten lost. And if I can be a part of something that helps catch that student that was that's dealing with what I was dealing with, that makes everything worthwhile for me. And so I love that part of it. I love just the interactions that I've gotten to have with all the guests, students, and faculty, staff, all alike.
Yeah, no, that's super important. I think it really shows in your dedication to when you're talking to all these students, and I think there is a huge wealth of information to be had from this podcast. There are so many resources, I mean, in every episode, but being on the flip side of this and knowing what goes on behind the scenes in developing the podcast, I think episode length is something we discuss a lot. Some episodes are longer than others, and we're starting to really build up a huge base and library of content, of episodes. So I guess I'm asking you, overall, what do you want listeners to know or take away when they tune into Healthy Illini?
I hope they know that we care. I hope that resonates and comes through every episode that we do. That, again, it's not just checking a box. It's not, we got to do a podcast this week, let's just do one. It's what do we want to reach students where they're at and how. Jen and I we meet regularly, and we talk a lot about what do we want to talk about, what do we want to share, what's going on with students, and it's a passion that we both have, that we care about the student body here, and that we want to reach them where they are. We want to help them where they are. We want to come alongside whatever they're dealing with, whatever they're walking through, whether it's a high or a low. It's not necessarily all negative stuff, or I don't say negative. It's not necessarily all hard stuff or difficult things. It's, celebrate the victories too, the simple things, the big things, all of that. We want to be a part of the entire journey, top to bottom. And so I hope they know that we care and that we're passionate about students, which leads to that passion about health and well-being. We have a tag, here at the end of this episode, that you're on a personal journey and you matter. That's not just words. That's a core of who I am and why I do this, is that every individual does matter, and every individual has a story, and every individual has a voice, and I want to hear them all if I can. I know the impossibility of that, but hey, I'm going to try. Mm-hmm. That's really where it's at. And so we're if you're listening, we're going to be authentic. We're going to be genuine. We're going to be engaging and welcoming, because we want you to be here. We want you to feel safe here. And you're going to learn some stuff along the way. Some stuff you may already know. Some stuff you've never heard of before. Some may just be confirmation of, you know what, I'm on the right track. This is what I was thinking about this situation or this topic, and you know what, that's truth, and moving forward. And so you're going to get an authenticity and energy and a passion from us every time. I promise, every episode.
It's good to keep it up. I mean, this podcast is now going on a year. So we've covered so many great topics, and we're well past 45 episodes. So are there any that stand out to you, like that are memorable for one reason or another?
I'll be honest. You gave me this question in prep. This was hard. Because I went back and I had about 43 episodes,
mm-hmm.
That were like, I was like, how do I knock this one out? How do I knock that one out? How did I not do this one? For me, my favorite episodes fall into a couple categories. The first one is the ones that I learned in, because I didn't have a great background in. I like to learn like I said, I like to learn, and I've got a pretty good base in a lot of things. But the ones, food security, that we're now calling nutrition security, food insecurity called nutrition security. That was a big one. Learning about the resources on campus, which was a lot of fun, and it was just really eye-opening. Campus sustainability was one. When I went into it, we said, let's do campus sustainability. I said, yeah, sure. When I actually sat down, I was like, I actually don't know what that means in practicality. Mm-hmm. I know the term, and I can say, oh yeah, sure, but how it functions, that was one I learned a lot about. And really, alcohol and nutrition was a fun one too, learning how to balance, talking to some experts and learning how to balance that and going out and things like that. That was a lot of fun. So the ones that I learned something are fun. The ones that are personal, have personal weight, are always the ones that I really enjoy. We did one on grief and loss. That was probably one of my absolute favorites, because that's something I'm really passionate about processing through grief and loss, having dealt with a lot in my life in various areas on that. Same thing with suicide prevention. From some of the darkness that I've gone through myself, just seeing friends go through it, some that came out of it, and some of that did not win their battle. That was a big one for me. Finding your voice was another one that was huge, just because I love students and I love seeing them become who they're going to be. And so helping with that process was great. like I said, I could name a whole bunch of them, but the last one that I really, really love, and this one you were involved with, is one of my favorite episodes by far, was quad questions. And the reason was not necessarily even the subject matter, but just engaging with the students, hearing their voice, knowing that we had connected and like we had gone out and sought them out. I'm so proud to be part of that episode because it's really the core of what we want to do is engage students.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and it's not just something that we say; it's something that we actually do. In every episode is get those students involved and their perspective. So as we move into this second year of Healthy Illini, this season 2,
right.
what are you looking forward to? Are there any changes or new topics? Give us a little sneak peek into what's to come.
What I'm looking forward to is, because when we started, we didn't have much of a library. We were trying to build it, and we were trying to find who we were, find our own voice. We did a lot of episodes that were kind of in-house at McKinley. They were good episodes. They were valuable episodes, and we'll continue to do that. But it was a lot of me talking to people that I already knew, the staff that was here. Going forward, we really want to engage with units across campus and pull in some new voices and pull in some new opportunities for collaboration, because this campus is strongest when we all work together. Whether it's students or staff or faculty, it does not matter. If you get into your routine, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, but you get in your routine, you talk to the same people. It's kind of like, when you go to class, I'm sure you sit in mostly the same spot in every class that you go to at this point.
Right.
You've got your area, who you're sitting by, and someone else comes in, you're like, who are you? And so the opportunity to kind of get some people in here and be like, who are you? Who are you talking? What are you doing? Who am I talking to? I'm excited about that opportunity going forward this year. We have a couple episodes that I'm really excited about just coming in the next few weeks. We're looking to do one with LGBTQ plus. Do that. We're looking at diversity and equality and inclusion. We're looking for one for imposter syndrome. That's one I've wanted to do for a long time because I deal with it myself. That's something I can very easily look at my life and say, hey, these are areas that I'm struggling with. And so that's another one I'll be really passionate about because I want to have that conversation. And then, just talking about what's going on campus with some of the peers that we're going to have bringing in, the McKinley peers, other peers from around campus. We got some ideas for some different approaches to things like relaxation, like some events and activities that are happening in other groups. And so I'm just really excited about what we have because it's going to continue to build this community of episodes and community of participants that's really going to make Healthy Illini continue to grow and continue to have this robust reach across campus.
Well, I'm excited. We keep talking about students and how much we value their voices and include them in our podcast. There are a lot of student voices, and mine included multiple times. So how can students get involved in this podcast?
This is the biggest thing I want to move forward towards as we go into into year 2 is that I want more engagement from students. However that be, and I'm looking at ideas, and we're looking at ideas and opportunities because I want to have that conversation because that's really the purpose of this whole thing. And so if somebody's listening and they want to engage with us, contact us at Healthy Illini. You can do it. We have our contact in our bio. In every episode, there's opportunity for resources. I work at McKinley. Jen Carson works at McKinley. By all means, call us and say, hey, I just want to talk to Matt, the only Matt in the building. And so if you say Matt, they'll find me. And whether it be, hey, I want to be a part of an episode, hey, I have an idea for an episode, hey, I just want to know more about what we were talking about. I just want to talk to somebody. Any of those are great. And engage because that's really, we always talk about it's the start of a conversation. We want it to grow into a bigger conversation, however that organically becomes. So yeah, reach out to us because I would love to have it to the point that we have so many students we have to try and figure out how to fit everybody in. I would love to do that because again, that gives that authenticity and it's about the students why we do this, and this campus is the energy comes from students. Every year is great with new freshmen coming in and people starting their senior year and all these things. There's an energy there and it comes from the students, and we want to tap into that and we want to be relevant to what's going on. And so it's easier to do that if we're in that conversation with students.
Okay, so you heard it here first. All you Illini out there, be sure to utilize those resources in the description. They aren't just there for filler. As Matt said, we really want you to reach out, and we want this to be a platform to amplify your student voices. But with that, thank you for joining us today, Matt.
It was a lot of fun. It was a bit different, but I really enjoyed it. Thanks, Ryan.
And I hope you've all enjoyed, you listeners, a behind-the-scenes look at this podcast and getting to hear from the host of the podcast. But we'd love to hear from you. And there are ways to engage with us in the description, or you can just feel free to call McKinley. But thank you for joining us today. You're on a personal journey no matter where you are in it. You are important and you matter. Your health and wellness are important and matter. And we're here to keep you well to excel. Go have a great week, Illini. Let us know how you're doing, and we will catch you next week on Healthy Illini.